pleasure to announce music legends, Salim and Sulaiman. You cannot be Indian and not have heard any of their songs. If you're Indian, you know all their songs, wherever you live in the world. Am I right, guys?
Thank you.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Did you know our songs when you came to the concert?
Absolutely. Everybody say, how could I be Indian and not know your songs? So, you guys have been making music for 25 years.
Yeah, do we look that old?
No, you don't. So when did you start? When you were 2?
Probably when we were 3.5.
So your dad was a music producer. Tell us about him.
He was a composer and he was a musician, of course. So back in the late 60s, he started doing films. And then he did 2 or 3 films, and then it didn't work for him. He was just, he didn't feel right about it for some reason, and he started manufacturing musical instruments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he started manufacturing drums, congas, percussions,
Wow.
and so he had a small workshop.
And what were they called?
He called it Playmore Musicals.
Well, actually, the company was called New Variety Musical.
Okay.
And his brand was called Playmore. And it was very, he said, Playmore actually represents all the drum manufacturers of the world.
So it was Premier, Ludwig,
Ajax.
Okay, Sulaiman knows that. And Aria.
Yamaha.
Yeah.
Wow.
PLAYM.
Maple.
And
There's something with the letter O, and then Rogers. R was
Okay.
Rogers. Remo, sorry.
So he started making musical instruments, and then?
And then he continued making musical instruments. And when we were born, we had like musical instruments as our
All
toys.
over. And those were your toys?
So those were our toys, and then it was very natural for us to obviously be musicians.
Did he play music to you
Yes,
when
he
you
played.
were kids, when you were infants?
he used to wake up every day, and this was his routine. He would sit with his cup of tea, and the tea would keep coming, and he would sit and he'd be writing his book of accounts, and there would be a keyboard in front of him. And he would write some stuff, and then he would sit and play.
Wow, he'd do accounts and
So
play at the
he'd
same
be
time.
accounting, and then he'd be
That's
playing.
very
and then
Indian, the
have
accounting
a-
bit.
And then have his chai, and then...
Well, he was running a workshop. He was running a music store, right? So he was a manufacturer. So he had a business thing going, and then he could never get the music out of his
System,
yeah.
right.
So
And
that
you
was
were kids just sitting there watching.
So we would see him every single day. It was like a routine. He would get up, he would do his thing, and then he'd be there for about an hour, and then he would go to the office and work and whatever.
Yeah.
And what about your mom?
Mom was a housewife, but she was very supportive, and she was extremely, she was always there for whatever we wanted to.
Did she play music or sing?
She did, no. We needed some audience.
Right, exactly. So how old were you when you played your first musical instrument? What was it?
I think I was like 6 or 7 when I started doodling with a keyboard. And yeah. And Sulaiman and me started learning together. Like,
What's the age difference? I asked you backstage and you were like, guess. And I'm like, I'm not going to guess. You tell me.
The age difference is 3 years.
Oh, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
That's
So not
great. You have a
much.
best friend
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a partner. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to your childhood. So
Yeah, so
you were 6.
I was 6 or 7 when I was, but then we formally started learning from a teacher, and
How
I
old were
wanted
you?
to.
How old were you when you played your
Well, you were
first?
6, 7, so I was about 9.
So you started at the same time?
We
playing?
started at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, and he started learning keyboards with me. I started learning drums with him.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I couldn't hack it because my leg coordination was not really the best.
I see he still has a little drum set. You have the whole drums in concert. You have it all in your
It's an
arm.
electronic, yeah.
It's
that's
called
amazing.
a Zen drum. It's a pretty cool instrument.
Yeah.
It's not just a drum. It's anything you want it to be. So at some point I was playing tablas. At some point I was playing big drums. Various different things.
It looks easy because I was watching them in concert right now in New York 3 days ago at Town Hall, and he had just the whole drum set in his arms, and he was so easily playing. And so you still play the keyboards,
Yes.
and you still sing.
I continue. Oh, so singing was something which actually I never thought about. I was, as Sulaiman and me were composers, we were writing songs. Somebody had to sing.
Yeah.
And so when I had to, make a song, obviously I would put a melody down, and I was very shy to put my vocals. But then over time, I sort of got over that. And
I heard something about Zakir Hussain. You said something like when you were working with Zakir Hussain?
yeah, I was playing keys for.
Ah.
So I worked with him on a couple of records, and then I was also part of this band called Tabla Beat Science, which was Zakir Hussain, Sultan Khan, and Bill Laswell.
Okay.
It was Bill Laswell's project.
Okay.
And that was one of the first, that was the first time I came to New York City back in the 90s. So, where were we?
Let's go back to, so you were
So, yeah.
children, you were playing music together.
I wanted to actually play drums,
Yeah.
but I couldn't hack it because my leg coordination was not that great. So I stuck to keyboards, and Sulaiman obviously, moved.
Yeah, I remember being told by my piano teacher, "Your fingers are too fat. You
Oh,
can't
really?
play." Yeah. Obviously, when you're playing drums, your
Yeah.
hands become a lot more stronger, and
yeah.
you don't have that
Yeah,
that easy touch.
The
so.
very soft touch.
Yeah.
So your fingers are
Very soft.
soft.
But yeah.
so that's a perfect team.
Talking about singing, so that the whole
Yeah.
thing about writing songs started very early, and then obviously had to put down a melody for the singer to come in. And as time passed, that whole bit was getting better and better and better, till a point where the singer would come in and say, like, "Why did you call me to sing? I mean, this sounds pretty good."
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, it was important for me to express myself really well, like as to what melody, what kind of inflection, what kind of expression we wanted on the song. So that was the whole idea of I never thought that I'll ever sing.
Really?
I was very shy about singing and stuff like that, because it's just the whole.
Sing beautifully.
And now you
Like an
see him on
angel.
stage completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singing almost. So wait,
But-
I want to hear how so you were kids, you started, how did you get discovered? How did you do your first thing?
It was very. It wasn't really planned or anything. It was more like an accident. We were doing a lot of corporate stuff, so a lot of corporate films and documentaries and
okay.
all of that stuff. So we were in the middle of one of those sessions, and the song was a very operatic kind of
Yeah,
song.
your
Okay,
music
like
is very
14.
grand. That's what I love about it. It's
We had-
big. Like something happens in my heart when I listen to it. It's like, wow.
Thank
So
you.
we had about 15 singers, and it was a big song. There was like lots of backbeats and
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff. And
What was the documentary about?
it was, I don't know, I can't remember.
I'll tell you.
It's
It was Cadbury's. It was for a Cadbury.
it was a documentary.
Yeah, it was
like
about
behind the
chocolates.
scenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
and okay.
That deserves the
It wasn't a
opera.
documentary. It was a corporate film, and
Okay.
it was like some sales for some salespeople and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
And so it was an orchestral thing, and we did that. And during the lunch break, there was
So the door kept
Yeah.
being opened and closed, and so he could hear the sounds. He was in.
Who's he?
Sanjay Gupta.
Ah.
Sanjay Gupta at that time was directing Hamesha,
Okay.
and it was apparently supposed to be the biggest film, reincarnation, and all of that. So he came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, I've been listening to this stuff which you've been,
Yeah.
making, and do you guys do a lot of that?" So he said, "Yeah, why don't you come inside, hear the stuff in the studio?" And he heard it and he was blown, and he said, "Hey, listen, I'm doing this film. It's a story about reincarnation, so I need a lot of this cinematic, operatic, kind of voicey soundtrack. And do you think you guys will be able to do a soundtrack for me?" So I said, "Yeah, sure, we'll try it." And that was our first break into the film industry per se. We never really were in
And then
the
from
whole
that
Bollywood.
film, you just started getting more and more. And you were not into Bollywood? What did you think of Bollywood films at that time? Were you?
It was strange.
Did you
we
want
we
to do
never
it?
really thought we wanted to be in Bollywood, but when you get into it, you
Yeah.
realize that, hey, listen, it's
There's nothing bigger than
biggest
cricket
cricket.
or Bollywood in India.
The magic of this industry is that it's so powerful and it's so big that it swallows every good artist.
Yeah.
So even if you're an independent artist and you don't want to do films, you somehow get swallowed into it, because every filmmaker wants their movie to look different, to sound different.
Sound different. And music is
So-
such an important part.
Absolutely.
Music
So they-
sells Bollywood, sells our films. Like I've done films that are okay, and the
It's-
music is amazing, and the film's a hit.
Music is the first look of the film. It's the
Yeah.
way it's the way it gets marketed and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it plays a very integral part. And every filmmaker, for them, it's very important that they get something which is out of the box. Everyone wants that.
Right.
I
Exactly.
remember
know?
the very first few films that we were doing, and as composers.
Which ones were there?
This was a film named Kal,
Okay.
which
There was a song playing Tauba Tauba Ishq Mein Kare,
right,
which was from that movie. Yeah.
so it was produced by Shah Rukh Khan
Okay.
and Karan Johar. This was the first film that they produced together as partners, and Shah Rukh had agreed to do a song, like a dance and all of that. But the film was completely different. It was a horror film.
Oh.
Well, psycho
Well,
thriller.
well, psycho thriller horror kind of film, and there were two songs, and both these songs had to be entertainers, not
Right.
nothing to do with the psychotic and the horror and none of that. He wanted a pop qawwali
Uh-huh.
and a song for Shah Rukh. And so when we did those two songs, such a big high, because you're doing a pop qawwali and it's starting off with a very backbeat groove kind of thing, and then suddenly going into this full qawwali Sufi thing.
Yeah.
So where were we? What were we talking about?
That happens
Yeah,
to
pop,
cinema
how
very
you
often, yeah.
how you started the first few films,
Yeah,
Pop
so-
Qawwali. No, but that's your music. It's grand, it's big, and you know what I really love about your music is like the traditional stuff. Like you say in your movie, like the traditional stuff, that's what stays. I know that in Bollywood sometimes they're like, oh, give us some pop thing, and that's great. But your stuff, when it's like it's so big and it's emotional.
I think it's
somehow.
important for us, like we've always believed it's important for us to make music for ourselves. That's the key. You can make music for films and for whatever you do, but it's important that it is coming out of you. If you can play it in your car and you can feel good about it, and if you like it, then there's a big chance that people will like it. But if you don't like your own music, if you just made it for the sake of doing a project, as a commercial thing, then it's that's why I keep saying it's important to make a good song rather than a hit song.
Right, exactly.
A
So
good
where is that inspiration from to make these big, grand songs?
I think a lot of it, I must say that, I have to give it to people who inspired us, I always feel music is 50% learning and 50% listening. You can, if you keep learning and you know your chords and your changes and your theory and this, that, and the other, but then you're not inspired to, there's so much more that people
Yeah.
do. So it's nice to kind of, learn
And do you
from
listen to
listening.
international music as well?
We saw a lot of
everything.
movies. We listened to a lot of soundtracks, a lot of films. A lot of orchestral movements. So at one point we were doing a lot of pop stuff, listening to a lot of new age stuff, and then also listening to a lot of cinematic scores, watching some amazing classic films which had big Hollywood scores and stuff
Do you
like
sit
that.
together and watch it? What's a
No.
typical
we-
Salim-Sulaiman day like when you're not on tour? Like
Okay.
you wake up in the morning and then what happens?
There is no morning most times because
You
wake up in the afternoon?
so if you go by the clock at 12 o'clock we are in the studio
Okay.
and
12 o'clock? No, post.
Well, I'm saying 12 a.m. When
Yeah,
you
yeah.
start the day,
Okay.
12 a.m. we are still in the studio.
Oh, really? Okay.
Working till about 4 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're night birds. You like to work
Yeah,
at
music normally happens in the night.
It's not about, the thing is, the night has its own kind of
Yeah.
Quality. Yeah.
It has its time. It's really beautiful. Your phone's not ringing.
night. Yeah.
There's, you can choose not to go to parties. You can choose not to. So there's that little quiet. Especially Mumbai, it's very busy. It's
Yeah,
like, it's got this.
absolutely.
It's kind of very close to New York
It's
in
like
terms
New
of
York.
its energy.
Yeah, I
It
would
never
say
sleeps.
it's more buzzing than New York.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't
Muhammad
say
Ali
that.
Road and all that. It's
That
really
part is.
buzzing. There's
That
so
part
many
is.
people and there's
That
so much
part for
going
sure is.
on and the traffic and that.
So that's where it's. So 4 o'clock when you sleep, then you have to be up by
Yeah.
about 11:30.
Right. So
And
when
then by the time you get to the gym, it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then by the time you get to the studio, it's about 3 o'clock. And
okay.
so everything runs like 4 hours.
4 hours
later.
later.
It's basically we work
So you
like
get
12
up, you
hours.
work out, and then you go to the
Yeah,
studio.
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Very nice. You work out every day.
We try.
Try to, yeah.
Together?
No,
Do you do
no, no.
everything together?
No. So
So
we both-
besides making music, we don't do anything together.
yeah,
But you live, sleep, breathe music, right?
That's
so
true.
just tell us about this, because I know that when I worked with MTV, you guys were producing music, but you never went on tour. And now you guys have started going
I
on
believe
tour.
that it's very important that you have to make music first. You can't
Yeah.
just go on tour, and if you have 5 big hits, you just go on tour and perform those 5 hits, and then people are like, we want more, and you perform those 5 hits again.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So we had decided very clearly that we want to make songs like at least 25 massive hits.
Right.
So then we have a set
Yeah,
list.
yeah,
You know,
You know,
and then-
we were at one point doing about 12 big scores a year.
Wow.
So that's about
When you say scores, what do you mean? Movies?
Background scores.
background
Yeah,
music.
movies.
Movie
So
scores.
12
For movies.
movies.
Yeah.
Wow.
So on an average, let's say you take about 20 days per film. Where's the time to go out?
My God, that's so quick. 20 days.
Yeah, 20
Where does
days,
all this
25
come
days.
from? Like,
We've-
how are you getting
No,
all this?
we've
How do you
been
get
very
all this hit
fortunate.
after hit?
We always had a very good team. Some of them are actually here right now. We have a great band as well, and so it's just an extended family sort of a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so we've been very fortunate. Like when we were making those scores, when we were producing those scores, we had a great set of team that worked with us very closely, and we would eat together, sort of hang together, make music together
So the aim was to do 20 minutes of music
every day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The aim from when you started.
No, so
No,
when
no, no.
you're
It's a goal.
in the middle of a score,
Ah,
the idea is to do 20 minutes of music every day.
that's great.
And we would divide it between 4 of us or 5 of us. So
Yeah.
everybody's making 5 minutes of produced music,
And it
which is
all
as good as
different?
making.
All
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah,
Which is as good as making 1.5 songs
Okay.
a day.
Okay. Wow.
And that's how much we worked.
there was a lot. Like, I mean, I think for us, like, everyone asks us this question that, do you prefer, what do you think is more difficult, background scores or songs? I say background scores definitely more difficult to do, because it's really the sound of the film.
yeah.
The film gets its
backbone of
character
the film.
from the score.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a bit different in India because obviously songs, take its
Absolutely.
glory, and everyone's just
That's it. It's the movies.
yeah.
It's music.
But the movie score, the music of the film is the score.
yeah.
And and a lot of people, of course, do background scores and whatever, but I think the key here is to know where not to do music. Everybody knows where to score. Very
Right.
it's
Because
important.
I hate it in a movie when they're telling you how to think.
Exactly.
It's like they're like, okay, now is the part you should be scared, and then the music
Yeah.
starts before. That's what you're talking about.
I
mean,
remember when we were doing this film, Bhoot.
Ah,
We won quite a few awards for that.
yeah, I remember that. Film.
We did that whole film, and Shimit was editing. Shimit Amin, who's the director of Chakte India and all those. So when he was editing it, and he showed it to us with some temporary music, he just put random music onto it. I remember sitting and watching the film, and there was a particular moment where Salim jumped. And he said, "Oh my God, my heart's beating so fast."
That's the
Because
time
you-
where the main character appears. The ghost.
the first
appears.
time you see the
Okay.
ghost, and it was so scary.
Yeah.
And when we were trying to recreate it, we were just not being able to do that. Maybe because we had seen the film too many times, it was just not scary. So we went back. We did the whole film, went back to it, and rescored the whole film, and then went back to it and rescored it again. So we did the whole film 3 times,
Wow, really?
and that taught us a very important lesson. The most important thing of a score is where not to score.
Where not to put. So you didn't put music at the part
We
when
actually
you got
removed.
scared.
We
Yeah.
actually started removing,
removing.
a lot.
Silence is scarier than anything
Yeah,
telling
that's
you
right.
how to think.
Yeah, because it's the silence is what actually scares you in a film like that.
Yeah.
It's the unknown.
Yeah.
And as musicians, you always want to like throw in a little bit of a ting, little bit of a ding there.
Right.
It's-
So you feel like
that
if you're a
actually-
makeup artist, you want to put lots of makeup.
Yeah,
if
it
you're a
just-
writer, you want to write a lot. If you're a musician,
It just-
most musicians probably want to put a lot of music
Yeah.
in there. Right. No.
And silence is music as well. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
in classical music we have rests. As,
Absolutely. Okay.
And I think that's something. But that you get that with experience. You figure that okay, this part is great when it's quiet.
So
Even
wait,
when you're
I-
working
So
with the band.
coming back to the
Yeah.
fact that because we were making so much music,
Yeah.
we didn't tour at all.
You
And so
didn't. Yeah. You didn't at all because I never interviewed you for MTV. I never
Honestly,
hosted your concerts.
Shanaz, honestly, you know, I mean, apart from the fact that, of course, we were really busy in the studio, we never even thought we'd go live, ever.
You
we
were,
never
the
did.
you were
Actually,
like background.
we
doing
actually,
the music.
first of all, we actually didn't think we would enter Bollywood because
Yeah.
we were so happy doing independent music.
Yeah.
You know,
And now you are Bollywood.
and now
I actually don't like that term. I still like to call it Indian
we've been
films.
there. We've done the independent scene, got into film music, and are now exploring the independent music scene again.
Yeah.
You know, we did a whole series with Coke Studios,
Yeah.
with MTV,
Yeah.
and then we release.
You played something with the FIFA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we release independent music now, which goes on to iTunes.
Oh, that's
and on the
fantastic.
Apple
That's
Store,
not Bollywood at all. That's
which
just
is not
independent.
Bollywood at all, because then you get, you know, when you're doing a Bollywood film, you're always bound by the script, by
The
the director's
director.
idea, the
Correct.
producer's thought of, oh, this song has to be a hit.
Yeah.
And the director says, oh, the producer wants it to be a hit, but I wanted to make sure that it's
Going
following
with
the script.
film, right.
And then you want, as yourself,
Yeah.
to discover some new ideas and put it all down together. So it's a mishmash of
Right.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
But when you're doing independent music, then you can do whatever you want.
There's so much more now. There's Apple
Yeah.
Music, and there's so many more platforms that you can actually release your music. There's Apple Connect. You can connect with people,
Yeah.
with your fans, with
How
your
much do
listeners.
you use Apple?
A lot.
Yeah?
Like,
Yeah, pretty
Since we're
much.
in the Apple store, let's talk about Apple.
I mean, we both use Logic. You know,
You know, I remember once when we were all checking in on a flight, and pretty much everybody was together.
Huh.
And you had to see the pile of iPads and iPhones just
Really?
growing because
Wow.
it was in one
Yeah,
phrase. You could just see like iPhones, iPads, and minis, and all of them.
And it's kind of weird, like, you know, anybody who had any other brand, we just kind of give them a dirty look.
Yeah, it's like you
using
don't
this phone?
belong here. Yeah, why?
Like- It's kind of weird, like, you know, because everyone's so used to iMessage and, you know, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And,
No, so it's, you know, Apple has been with us for a very long time, and I remember my first Mac.
When was that? What year
By the
was
way, we
that?
both have
90.
Mac accounts. So, like, my email
Oh,
address
really?
is salimmerchant at
Ah,
the .mac accounts.
really? Wow.
So we both have like .mac.
It's been that long.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Or
been that long.
90s, I guess, 1992, when the first Titanium series came
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
Ah, that was your first.
No, Sulaiman, we had the G3 as well.
We had the G3 and
yeah.
then the G5.
What year was that? 90.
I don't know. It's like early 90s.
Early
Really?
90s, yeah.
I didn't even know how to use a computer then.
I'm glad you're not asking us our age. So that's okay.
No, I'm not. But okay. So, but you didn't answer me about your inspiration because hit after hit and song after song, it's just, and everything's so grand and sounds so
And a bunch
different.
of people. I think I must say Ustad Zakir Hussain was a huge influence, not just as a musician. I was very fortunate that I worked with him as a musician, and I watched him. You know, he's a legend. But what's really cool about him is that he's a great human being, and I learned that there's your music is always reflective of your personality.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you're a good guy, if you have a good heart, then you know you can't go wrong when you're writing stuff.
Besides other musicians, also your mood, how you're feeling. Your songs are always about love. So is it like you guys are really
It's
passionate?
also about pain.
It's
by the
also
way.
It's not
pain.
just, yeah, there's a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It's you know,
And there's
every
devotional
you have
songs
to
that
go
I
through a
love.
few breakups. You have to. You have to.
Right.
Right?
To be a good artist.
Yeah, you have to, really.
But you both are
It's
married
true.
with kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, of course we are. But
I
like,
just catch you.
no, but like, you know, there's a big history. You know, I mean,
Right,
we won't
right.
get into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about music here. So it's and Ustad Zakir Hussain. There are a lot of other incredible artists who've influenced us.
But even Western artists, like we were very big fans of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who doesn't love
And
him?
who doesn't love Michael
Yeah.
Jackson? And just incredible.
Yeah.
What energy and the production of sound, the way he used to produce sound was nobody else could do it.
Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah, oh
you
my
know,
God,
So
yeah.
different and unique. And we used to always wonder if we would ever be able to achieve that kind of sound, and so we used to work really very hard. We used to work through the nights to just get that one particular thing that we wanted, that one sound, and we would keep working till we achieved it. And I guess that's what pays off towards the end.
Absolutely, it's hard work.
It
and
was nice
talent.
that it had this whole Indian, we had this whole Indian thing, and then we had this whole funk, jazz, blues kind of side, rock side as well.
Yeah.
And we were always kind of floating between these two worlds. But through films and through music, we could, it was great that we sort of embraced both worlds and made it our own, and kind of found a little space of our
So
own.
when you're touring, now you tour a lot and you're going from place to place, and I saw in the film how you go, like the other day when I watched their concert in New York, they said that they had just done a concert in Vancouver, then driven all night after the concert to Seattle, then got on a plane,
Missed some
missed
of
some
them.
flights.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, because the immigration
missed
gave
flights.
them problems in Canada to US.
Seattle
right?
border. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they missed some flights, and they finally got here and literally got to New York and came on stage. And you guys were incredible on stage. What energy, and what a great show you guys put up. For those who haven't seen their concerts, it has they have all so many singers come in, and it's almost like I'm like, wow, one more. This is like Paisa Vasool completely.
Yeah, on that note, I must say, we have a lot of people out here in the audience are actually part of our band, and we're so blessed to have some incredible
much
musicians and
energy.
artists. And
You know,
they are who, they really make us sound good, and we're like a big family.
Family. That's so incredible.
And it's the energy on stage
Yeah.
has nothing to do with what you've gone through in the last 24 hours or 48 hours,
Yeah.
whatever.
But doesn't your body give up?
I
Your
think
body
it's-
gives up at some point, but when you're on stage,
Yeah, this the adrenaline.
it's just
yes.
the adrenaline is so
Really?
much. You're going,
Voice?
you're jumping, you're screaming,
Ah.
you're dancing.
It's
crazy.
amazing how much
Yeah,
how much
it's-
energy you have, and so many musicians, and one after the other, lots of musicians, singers, and then you're
No, this
singing.
New York was especially a big piece in this whole tour, because we had some amazing featured artists, and they were just like, we have so many friends here in New York, and we said we have to invite them and have them on stage
Oh,
to sort of
they were
make this one grand big party.
The one thing that really struck me in the movie as well was like you go from tour to tour, and there's so much energy, and people are like, "We love you," and everyone's standing, and this craziness, and then from that energy, you go zoop to a hotel room where you're alone. How do you deal with that? And why are you alone? Because you have your whole family of musicians.
Everyone's
have
so
to-
tired. Everyone has an early morning flight. Just want to get like 4 or 5 hours rest. But those 5 hours become so difficult, because suddenly, from like this 100 dB decibel loud volume.
It's not just only the volume; it's also the fans, and you're sharing so much energy with the audience.
Yeah.
You can see they're crying, they're laughing, they're happy, they're cheering, they're dancing, and you're getting so much love and appreciation, and you're giving that love back.
Right.
And then suddenly that whole thing is just disconnected, and you're going back into silence, and
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, and you're not touring with
And
your
you cannot
family.
sleep, you can't sleep sometimes.
You don't sleep, and you have to make music on your tour.
Oh yeah, that happens.
You
all the
produce
time.
music from your hotel
So
room
anyway,
sometimes.
That happens all the time.
Okay,
Because sometimes when we are gone for like for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, nothing
But you
shuts
have your
down.
whole team, so everyone's just making music in the hotel room. That sounds like
Yeah.
We
fun.
have
You
our
have a fun
engineer
life.
who's been mixing. I believe he's been mixing even now.
Oh,
Is
really?
he, there he is, Aftab.
Aftab, I think it was.
Aftab, yeah.
Aftab, right? Yeah, yeah. Wow. No, it's so much energy and so much work. Okay, I have to open it out to the audience. So,
Sure.
So, what's your favorite part of being on stage when you're performing live?
Everything, actually. It's just the most important thing is being able to connect with our fans one to one. And we connect on social media and on all these other various websites, and we get all these messages of love, and we love you guys, and we love listening to your music, and this particular song is my favorite, and all of that. But the direct connect when you're on stage, and you can see the love coming to you, and you can see people going crazy and dancing and enjoying themselves, and then crying when we play some of these songs which really, like songs like Ali Mola or even Shukranallah sometimes, you see the emotion, and that's very gratifying. It's very, very gratifying. And I think for me, that's one of my favorite parts of being on stage, is to be able to connect with all our fans and being able to get all the love and give it back.
My most favorite part is actually when to try to replicate that moment of the actual recording. And the song is popular, the whatever the song has its popularity and whatever. But when you're doing it live, obviously it's all anything can happen.
Yeah.
But to try to replicate that moment of the recording is very, very crucial, because the fans have loved it. Everyone's loved it because of that. So we try to keep the arrangements and the music as close to it as possible. But we sometimes twist it as well. But we try to do it in a very tasteful way, to create that moment of of people loving that thing about the song.
Do you get nervous before shows? At all? After doing 75 concerts
I
a
think
year?
nervous energy is good. I
Yeah.
mean, I do, actually. I must say. I mean, I could say that no, I don't. But
Wow.
it's very important that you get that nervous energy, because that helps you to sort of, perform
Be
better.
better.
Yeah, just be alert. Because, when you don't have sleep, like you've slept only for an hour,
Yeah.
or an hour and a half or two,
How?
and then you're just very chilled out, then, you can easily sort of lose that moment. It's very
Really?
important that you...
You're chill when you don't sleep? I'm cranky and crazy.
No, in the sense, like, you can, if you're not nervous, that nervous energy, if you don't have that in you, then you can kind of, get sort of relaxed about the moment.
Right.
You have to be very, very focused, and that nervous energy helps your focus.
For me, it's exactly the opposite. When I'm calm, I'm very focused, and when I get jumpy and
Me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
You tend to forget some stuff, and there's a lot of critical moments when you're on a concert. There are a lot of critical moments where there are certain sections which you're beginning the whole thing and you're starting the whole chain of the song, and it's very important to be alert and be on that ball, because you miss the cue and everything else just goes for a toss. And in those times, you cannot help but be calm. I at least have to be very calm to be able to get into the song like that.
I'm sure you've noticed that we are two different people, like complete different personalities.
Salim-Sulaiman are two different people. I noticed somebody had their hand
Next
up. Yes.
question.
My question is, we always hear success stories. Can you talk about your journey? Like, have you gone through like some failures?
Oh, wow.
Finally reached success.
I'll tell you a little quick story about this song we did called Chak De India, which is kind of like the sports anthem of our country. And so when we read the script, and it's a beautiful film. It's about this hockey coach who's really like who's very passionate about the game, but is also very patriotic and has a great love for his country. And the film, of course, has a lot of layers. It's about him. It's about women's hockey. It's about team spirit and whatnot. So when we were making the song for this film, we thought we'll sort of make a very emotional, powerful song which encompasses all these emotions of patriotism, team spirit and whatnot. And we made that song, but the filmmaker didn't like it. So that was like a big no-no. And we really put a lot of heart in that song. That was a big failure, but it just didn't happen once. It kept on happening. They didn't like it the second time, the third time. So they wanted more energy. So we made like a really kind of, very football sort of a song, and it didn't work. And then we did something which was kind of more traditional and rural and whatnot. That didn't work. And then me and Sulaiman were really like, at that point we wanted to quit that film. Now that's a big film, Chak De India. It's a film which is timeless now. It's gone in the...
Did you feel that you were giving your best and they didn't
So
like
I felt like there was a hurdle. There was like this roadblock, and there was no way out. Like after doing 3, 4, 5, 6 versions of this song, how are we going to go through? Because they're just not liking anything. At that point, I really wanted to quit, and I was so dejected. I wanted to quit that film. I was like, I can't do this. But something that I can't say, like, I mean, there's some internal sort of energy which just pushed us to continue to, keep trying. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to...
See, we
make
got a
this
set
work.
of lyrics which, really motivated us to go into a completely different direction.
So hang on, I'm going to complete the story. 7th or 8th eighth version was a version where the filmmaker said that I want, and I know, I'm sure some of you know Jumma Chumma, that song. And, the filmmaker said that, we want, I want a Jumma Chumma. So I'm like, I didn't understand. This is like a, Chak De India is a very patriotic film, sports film. And so he started singing like, Chak De India. I didn't understand. I'm like, how is this going to happen? Chak De India, India, which is the tune of Jumma Chumma. In that. I was like, I don't know where this is going to go. So this was like but I realized that, we have to keep going. We have to keep trying. We have to keep trying. And then we made this song because the lyricist came in, he wrote this couplet. He wrote, kuch kariye, nas nas meri khole. And I was like, wow, this is a great line. It means, let's do it. My blood is boiling. Let's do it.
And it was so apt to
It
what
was
you were
apt
feeling.
for that moment. So I said, and then, kuch kariye, nas nas meri khole. And I was like, wow, okay, this is working out in a good direction. And we may go through. And yeah, it did. The song came out. The timing was perfect. India won the World Cup, the T20 World Cup, and everybody was playing the song. It was playing in the streets. There was like a national celebration, and suddenly this song was like the sports anthem of the
How
country.
do you feel when you're passing places and everyone's singing your music? And
But yeah, I'll come to that. But the moral of the story was that, never give up till your last breath. There may be a lot of roadblocks and a lot of, but you have to just keep doing it. You have to keep pushing it. And we've seen success through that. And this was not just the first time it happened. We've seen a lot of times where there were roadblocks and hurdles, but we just kept pushing. And whatever will be, but you have to keep pushing it.
And so how do you feel when you go by and everyone's playing your music and it becomes the national anthem of India, like the...
It really feels great.
It's
It feels good.
Your
It
families
feels
must
great
be really
because
proud of you.
I remember I was standing in my balcony, and I was we had just won the World Cup,
Yeah.
and there were cars passing by, and each and every car had Chak De India going on. And
Wow.
I just felt like, wow, just never thought
Also-
this is, and you keep thinking back onto what
Yeah.
had happened and how this song actually came into existence, and you keep thinking like, wow, where has this song gone? It's not our song anymore. It's the
I
whole
was gonna say.
country's song.
Ah, right.
And not just this song. I mean, there are so many songs which, suddenly it becomes people's songs. It becomes their melodies. It's not ours anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. I mean, you keep doing music, and people's energies come together.
And they say making music is like meditation. Actually, I'm jealous of you guys. I envy musicians because it just looks like you're in such peace and harmony with the world.
Actually, honestly, we haven't.
I'm
worked-
jealous of you because you travel so much to the Bahamas and host all these amazing shows, right?
But quite honestly, we haven't worked a day in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on a vacation.
We've been
So
making
fortunate.
music and just having fun. It's like one big party.
Yeah,
When you were kids, what did you want to be?
what we are right now.
That's it?
So living
no,
our
no
dream.
pilot,
Are you
nothing.
nuts? Pilot? No way. Like I was playing music since I was 6, 7 years old.
You wanted to be a musician.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does
It's great because music was a passion which is now turned into a profession for us. It
And
was-
only a very fortunate few can actually
Yeah.
convert their passion into a profession. You're blessed. And speaking about blessings, I love your devotional songs.
thank
All
you.
your devotional, they're just so powerful. And actually, when you were playing that in concert the other day, I was in a trance. It was like I was meditating. It had this very
Whoa.
powerful. Oh, and we must talk about the folk singers that you brought down from,
From Rajasthan,
Rajasthan. They
yeah.
were beautiful.
Yeah, it was a great. I said that at the concert that we got invited. We did a concert in Udaipur in Rajasthan, and we got invited to a private mehfil, a private party, and we saw these incredible Rajasthani singers, and I was like listening to them, and I'm like, whoa, this is unreal.
It was
Like,
magical.
what are these singers? Where are they from? I mean, there's this incredible voices and musicians from. It's the sound of India. It's the desert. The whole traditional
There's a
thing.
pain and an excitement in
Oh,
their
there's
voice.
euphoria and pain. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And I right away knew I right away knew that this is the sound of our tour, and we had to bring these musicians to the United States for for everyone here to feel what our sound is.
Yeah, yeah.
How many of songs that you make actually, make it out and are success songs, and then how many of the songs that you don't publicize and you kind of just keep in the studio are your personal favorites?
There's so
There's
many.
a lot
them.
of songs.
Oh my God.
We've made quite a few songs, and a lot of them have not been appreciated. There's a lot of songs that are appreciated, but are not publicized, so you don't really know those songs. So there's a lot of songs that you make. A lot of times the record label or the producer will decide that, hey, you know what, these two songs sound the best. Let's use those two songs and promote them, because that's going to make the film run. Which is why, when you take a step back from the film industry and you start doing independent music, you start feeling that every single song deserves its moment of glory. And that's what we are doing right now.
But all that is changing in a huge way, because like I said, there's so many more platforms like Apple Music. You can actually search for whatever you want, and when you see you can just pick your song and then you can listen to it, because now it's not about the record. It can just come out as a single.
It's all about discovering the music.
Yeah.
Right? It's more about every single listener going into creating their own playlist and enjoying their music. It's not being forced down your throat.
Yeah.
So
If one of you was not into music, maybe wanted to become a lawyer, would you still be where you are today?
we don't know, because we haven't been. We
That's a
haven't
good
been in
question,
that
though.
situation. But out of both of us, I usually handle all the lawyer stuff. So
I can't understand that language of contracts and whatnot. So Sulaiman takes care.
So I do actually look at all the contracts, and so I'm not really a lawyer, but you could say I'm, a lawyer. And we're still making music.
But he's saying if one of
I'm more like
you
Gary
didn't do
Lawyer.
it, would you still be?
I don't know. There's a lot of magic that happens in the studio when both of us work together.
Yeah.
There's the creativity that just flows, and so maybe it would have happened, maybe it would not have, but we wouldn't know, right? We won't know.
I guess it's more of a request, not a question, but if you can please sing a few lines of Shukranallah, it would be amazing. Because you just mentioned silence, and I think singing
And there's too much
without...
silence right now, so we have to break it.
So, but without the musical, I mean, just to hear your voice.
Shukranallah walhamdulillah. Shukranallah walhamdulillah. Is that okay?
That's beautiful.
Hi Salim, hi Sulaiman. So we all know that you create magic. I need to know inside story. As brothers, have you ever had difference of opinion?
Yes, I was waiting for that question. I was like, why is nobody
That
asked?
question happens every time.
I was like, why has nobody asked us that question?
I was reading your mind.
I'm so glad that we picked you as the last question. So
It's so funny. Every single person who's taken an interview or has been in the forum has asked this question.
I didn't ask you.
And I'll tell you something. When we sit down to make music, there's always a healthy discussion about in what direction you want to go in terms of the music. Sometimes you talk about you want to go into electronic dance music, or do you want to take this path where your song is very serious and you want to do it in a very different way. So it's always about the direction of music. It's always about the music. It's not about, hey, you had biryani today and I didn't get that. So it's none of that stuff, right? It's always about the music, and it's always a healthy thing to have a discussion about music and how you want to take it and what directions you want to go. And
we've also, when we're making music, he puts a bass line and I'm like, dude, check this out. This is a much better bass line. And then he'd, wait. Let me complete. And then he'd put another bass line and I'm like, okay, no, that's really cool. So it's always the music that wins. it's never our egos, never. It's always about doing good music and whatever. I mean, but what's nice is there's still there's competition between us. Like he's trying to
Really?
create
Wow.
something, and then I'm like, dude, this is it, man, this is it, and he's like, no. No, I mean, it's
Actually,
always
the music is the manipulator.
Yeah.
When you make a composition, the best kind of direction comes from the music itself.
So let's say when we are writing a tune, there's a certain pulse. Let's say the song is in 7 beats, and in my head I'm thinking of a beat, but he comes up with something completely different, and which is really nice, and I have to embrace it because it's beautiful. So it's always about doing the right things, doing what sounds good, and while he's creating something or pattern or whatever. There is maybe, there's some embellishments and there's some little things which I would ask him, like, Sulaiman, can you shift this a little bit, like this beat a little bit here and there, and that's how. And I really feel music is about people. You can do things on your own all your life, but when you have people together, we are very fortunate that we have this young gentleman, Raj Pandit, who works with us as well right now, and he does so much stuff. He creates a lot of magic.
I saw
between
him
us.
singing on stage
Yeah.
with full
Well,
energy.
he's a great producer as well. So, he works with us in the studio, and then, he suddenly challenges us, and then I'm like, whoa, this guy is on his own level. So it's really about, and then suddenly, our guitar player, Nigel, would come in and he'd play a few things, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I'll shift my arrangements because of the guitar, because there's certain positions. So really, music is about people, it's not about egos. It's really not. It should never be about personal egos.
Are musicians always approaching you and being like, please listen to this, please listen to that?
No, I mean, like, for instance, Andrew is here. He's a fantastic saxophonist, and he lives in New York City, and he's been part of our tours. And so we wanted to, we wanted a horn section, we wanted a brass section, and we of course wanted trumpet, trombone, and saxophone. But at that point, we said we'll leave trombone aside. We just keep saxophone and trumpet. And we found Lee, and then Lee introduced us to Andrew, and then, so I think
He's right here.
Well, Lee. So, it's fab. I mean, we have. I think if you want to do something with the right spirit, if your spirit's correct, your intentions are true, you always find the right people.
Yeah, I believe that. Okay, we're running out of time, but I have the last question, and that's about your movie. Can you tell us all about your movie?
So, okay, I'm going to tell you how it started.
Okay.
We did this tour in 2015, and it was incredible. We had some great musicians and performers, and we did some amazing cities. And we thought we'd make like a 3-minute video, just kind of covering what we've done, different cities and whatnot.
It's like a recap of,
It's 25 years.
Yeah. No, we had none of that.
Oh, none of that.
No.
Okay.
We just thought we'd make a 3-minute clip and sort of kind of have it, put it up on YouTube or whatever. And then this filmmaker who we asked to edit, he comes up to us and says, you know what? So 3 weeks he was lost. We couldn't connect with him. And then 3 weeks later he comes back to us and he says, look, I'm a huge fan. I like your music. I've always wanted to work with you. I have this long script. So he came up with a script which was basically a conversation of both me and Sulaiman talking to each other. And that script basically went through the entire film, like from our childhood.
He wrote the script according to what he heard you talking about.
We were talking to him,
Yeah.
just one day, regular, sitting down and having a conversation,
He
like
very
how we are having a
smartly
conversation.
recorded a
with you.
conversation.
Okay.
And he recorded pretty much everything. So he kept asking us, so what do you do on tour? Hey, you must be feeling very tired,
Yeah.
three concerts in a row. And then we were talking to him about all of that. And then he kept asking us, so who are your inspirations? And pretty much like how we are doing
Right
this
now.
conversation.
Yeah.
But he recorded all of that and he's weaved that whole thing through all our songs. And so it's not even a documentary. It's like a
It's a rockumentary.
It's a rockumentary.
I like that. It's beautiful. I really recommend you download it from my Apple store. I just watched it. It's lovely. It's very powerful, and it tells you the whole story about Salim and Sulaiman.
Thank you. Well, it's not
Thank
the only story. It's the beginning
more.
of the next.
What's next?
We'll do Shukranallah too very soon.
Fantastic. When will that be?
Which is probably next year. We've done so many collaborations in the recent past. We've met some amazing musicians. We've worked with some incredible artists. And I think this journey continues with people's energies now. And, it should just go on and on and on.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming
It's
out.
been
Thank
an
you.
honor to talk to you guys. You
Thank
guys
you.
are my favorite musicians. Every
Thank
time
you.
I listen to your music,
Thank
I
you.
feel so much emotion.
Wow.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you, Shanaz.
Thank you.
Thank you.